Flipping heck, man, these seats, I can't see anything. Getting up on my phone, honestly, this angle's so much better. Wait, is that? Hey, yo, mum, I'm on TV. What are you saying, man? Just want to watch the game at home with a drink. But no, the missus needs some flipping baked beans. Hold on a sec. What's the need to even have a camera in here, bro? Oof, alright, say less, man. It's been a long day. Let me just sit down and watch this match. Mate, what are you doing in my house? Wait, hold on a second. There's MILFs in my local area. Aye, babes, I've got to go. Yo guys, it is your boy Newman here, and you're watching FTW. This is of course the series where I bring to you the best and more frequently the worst of what football has to offer during the last 7 days. What's been kicking off in the world this week? Well, one army chief claimed that UK residents might be forced into signing up for the army in an aid to help Ukraine during their conflict with Russia. Fam, I can't even fight for myself, let alone for a different nation. Yeah, nah, you know what it is actually as well? I've realised I've got my annual leave then, so imagine modern Brits getting involved in this war. Alan from Blackpool getting into the mixer in rural Ukraine.
Let's have a bare knuckle fight then!
What would a bare knuckle fight
show you then, won't I?
FIFA streamers warming up after being promised 2.5 million FIFA coins to sign up. Meanwhile, Eddie Nketiah's lieutenant won't want him anywhere near the battlefield after seeing his shooting drills.
You don't have to, so you can never make it.
Now then, on to the football, lad. Fuck all of that noise. We're going off structure, lads. Fucking hell. It's Afcon time, baby. This competition has proven to be the greatest there ever was, lads. With thrills, spills, and upsets aplenty, one of the biggest surprises came in the form of African giants and once World Cup quarter-finalists Ghana, who went out in the groups. They finished third on 2 points after bottling a 2-0 lead to Mozambique in the 90th minute. A legendary bottle. Nigeria are through and Ghana are back in Ashanti. The worst part is, though, the equaliser in this game came through an unforced error, as Ghana goalkeeper Afori accidentally touched the ball and let it go out for a corner, which they then conceded from.
What a prat!
Black Star fans will be waiting for their goalkeeper at the airport. His highlights reel from the tournament as a whole, to be honest with you, not looking that great. The best thing is, Mozambique are already out. They just wanted some company on the flight. On the way to the airport, seeing Andre Ayew in the opposite coach. To be fair, the Ghana bus would have done well to even get on the road, as the nation's media and journalists didn't even let them get out of the tunnel, barricading their way. Nah, you know what though? It's actually okay, because there's a late Ghanaian winner. They've got 1 star on their flag and 1 star in the team. Everyone else is dusted barcudas, and he was left speechless in his post-match interview.
I'm out of words. I don't know what to say, man. Yeah, thank you.
Generational head loss. His great uncles are fuming, and he owes it to the Ayew brothers trying to keep their family name alive at all costs. But they're not doing it, lads. Jordan Ayew and Andre Ayew need to be tried for war crimes, because a man with this penalty technique simply must be banned from competition.
Disabled.
His brother Jordan did, in fairness, score 2 penalties. 2 penalties? Hey, yo, they might have a new player on the scene at the next Afcon.
Straight jeans, got that foot pants.
Their fans were trying to work out the permutations they'd need to qualify through the best third-place finishes. Meanwhile, if it wasn't bad enough for one Ghana supporter, he was getting his food stolen in the crowd. At least there was one man happy with this result, Luis Suarez. The final match week of the groups was massive for fellow giants Cameroon too. If they lost, they were heading out as well. And with just 5 minutes to go, that's exactly what was happening. Samuel Eto'o was fuming from the VIP box. Yeah, just the caviar, mate, please. What the... Andre, what the fuck are you doing? They were 2-1 down, trailing to the Gambia and in need of a miracle.
They need a winner. It might come here, and it does potentially, by Christopher Wall.
They scored twice in injury time to come back and qualify, but it was almost another twist in the tail, as Gambia put the ball in the net to make it 3-3 with the use of a fist. Don't tell the Met Office that. Fuck's sake, man. This is the hand of dog, bro. In the VAR era, you know. How did they think he was gonna get away with this? Gambia thought VAR was just a DVD replay. They didn't let it stop them, no. They were heading back to Cameroon's goal after that one was disallowed by any means necessary. Honestly, whoever this was in the Gambia side, hands down the worst decision they could have made. Well, hands up, really, I guess, thinking. Andre Onana was dropped for this final game by Cameroon, having had a 0% save success for the tournament. How can it be 0? He didn't even make a save by accident. He was dropped for his own cousin, which will make the family barbecue a little bit tense. Andre was literally the last person to arrive at this tournament and almost the first to go home. He barely even gets a writing credit for Afcon, but he was at least trying to gas up his teammates from the sidelines. I told you in a recent FTW, the guy's basically a cheerleader, and Cameroon's manager will be showing Eric Ten Hag how dropping Andre does actually lead to winning football matches. I don't know who made this Onana edit, but they've got to be put in jail. I show shots into my own net. One thing Andre did manage to do during this tournament, give free kick advice to one of his teammates. What are you even doing there? How do you know how to score in this situation? If I'm Cameroon, I'm trying to claim Aaron Ramsdale as 1/16th Cameroon for the next Afcon. But shout out to Gambia. They make it through to the knockout stages for the first time in their Afcon history, and their fans are excited, getting the atmosphere together ahead of their knockout stage match. The Ivory Coast were even closer to Afcon elimination than Cameroon, though. They were out after a humbling 4-0 defeat to Equatorial Guinea, who were saved by the best third-placed rankings. As I mentioned, there was a point where they were firmly out. Victor Boniface put this on Insta, telling his Ivorian teammate Odilon Kusunu to get a flight back to Bayer Leverkusen, and the country's FA didn't have that much faith either, as they sacked their manager after a very heavy defeat, only to realise they were still in the competition.
God, I love it. I fucking love it.
The one problem is, though, they now go into the knockout stages without a coach, and are hoping to borrow French women's manager Hervé Renard to see out the rest of the competition. How can you sign a manager on loan mid-Afcon? They survived by the skin of their teeth, but this is still awful, honestly, as a result. Didier Drogba realised halfway through he's got to go back home and watch Chelsea after this. Poor guy, no wonder he's lost all of his hair. He's stressed enough as it is. Yaya Toure was trying to offer words of tactical wisdom at half-time.
I think, from my point of view, I think it can be a little bit early, you know.
Meanwhile, all of this at your home tournament.
You don't even look comfortable in your own ends. Don't look comfortable. I'm around.
If I'm Franck Kessia, I'm trying to work out if my mum's got like a different passport. I'm not playing for these lot anymore. The defensive midfielder didn't take it too well when she said he was 100% Ivorian.
Fuck off.
Now remember when I was talking about Ghana? Well, their foolishness saved Egypt, who elsewhere at the same time were also attempting not to win Afcon by throwing away a lead versus Cape Verde. The island nation with the smallest population at the tournament were heading to the top spot after a 99th minute goal, and it was sending Egypt home until Ghana fell apart. Jurgen Klopp was delighted seeing this Egyptian bottle before realising that Ghana had gone one better, and his star man Mo Salah is out injured and may miss up to the semi-finals if Egypt were to get there. It's a massive, massive blow for them. There's no way anyone can fill that void, and it turns out the score he needs to settle will continue for a while longer. Can't wait for him to elbow Sergio Ramos' grandson after Egypt losing a 2068 Afcon semi-final. He was getting a lot of heat though for travelling home back to Liverpool mid-tournament instead of staying out there as a captain and a leader. I kind of do understand this point of view. I think especially as the captain of a side, you do kind of owe it to yourself to oversee what's happening at the tournament, make sure that heads don't drop and everyone sticks together. We're talking about Mo Salah here. He's clearly dedicated to the cause. The guy single-handedly drags Egypt through any tournament he ever gets to, and he was actually told to go home by the nation's physio. So they're also without Imam Ashur, who is suffering from a concussion after attempting a backflip in training. Brother, keep it simple. There's no need to be doing Olympic gymnastics on the way up for a penalty. Meanwhile, the referee during this one actually forgot to book an Egyptian player, and that led to this man here losing out on a bet through very unfortunate circumstances. One of the biggest shocks of them all, Algeria are going home bottom of their group. The reigning champions have had an absolute shocker of a tournament, and Riyad Mahrez is already missing Pep Guardiola. At least Ghana fans will be able to welcome them at the nearest airport. During Algeria's match versus Angola, and there was some unorthodox camera work going on. Meanwhile, Nottingham Forest right back Ola Aina give us a peer behind the curtain of what it's like to be a footballer at Afcon, and that's to be back in the hotel playing a Call of Duty and suffering from serious head loss for Calvin Bassey.
All because of games, you know. I'm gonna start playing games now as well.
I'm winning it. I'm fucking doing a fucking losing fight, bro.
This one has ADHD. He hasn't taken his pills today. Look at him.
Man, peace off.
Now, it's not often you get done as a goalkeeper for handball, but Afcon is where we find that too, as this Angolan shot stopper tried to hide it, going for a header outside of his own area, and wasn't even sent off. Somalia are not present in Afcon, apart from in the refereeing department, and they're taking absolutely no prisoners whatsoever, telling this attacker that's down injured to get up because VAR is already done and won't help him now. Meanwhile, this next clip, the flip-flap, the piece of skill, the beautiful 1-2s. Have you ever seen African Cup of Nations football this beautiful? Shout out to Namibia winger Dion Hotto doing a post-match interview in a do-rag. What is in the air in Cote d'Ivoire? Meanwhile, remember Bebe, the Manchester United flop that Sir Alex Ferguson had never even seen play? Well, he's representing for Cape Verde and scored an absolute rocket of a free kick, helped by some pretty shocking goalkeeping. Now, we leave African Cup of Nations finally and head back to England, where the Carabao Cup final has been set. This after Chelsea came back to slap Middlesbrough in the second leg of their tie. 6-1 the score there. Middlesbrough Middlesbrough's coaches were conceding defeat at half-time, asking to be let off the hook. Meanwhile, Cole Palmer grabbed himself a brace here, and his goal contributions continued to impress even Middlesbrough fans who were doing his celebration while 6-1 down. Axel Disasi unleashed his inner Kurt Zouma getting forward for his goal, but no pets were hurt in the making of this one. Meanwhile, Maurizio Pochettino was surrounded by his celebrating Chelsea players, getting PTSD to the fact that he's got to face Liverpool in another final.
I feel physically sick, to be honest, and I mean that.
And that's after the Reds drew 1-1 in the second leg versus Fulham to go through 3-2 on aggregate. It sets up a Chelsea v Liverpool final where the goal is, well, to score goals. There's not been that many in recent times in this fixture. Jurgen Klopp will be running over to Moises Caicedo and Romeo Lavia if we end up winning.
And who had the idea?
Meanwhile, the Blues will be attempting to distract Darwin Núñez's ADHD with the spelling of Chukwuemeka. Now, Chelsea caught attention on social media for other reasons this week, with a bed being present in their Stamford Bridge Stadium. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know whether this is like a brand deal with like Trivago or something. But either way, Nicholas Jackson will be taking matters into his own hands when he sees a blonde woman in a bed in row K. I like the idea, to be honest with you, because I'd be going to sleep if I was a Chelsea fan, seeing my side inevitably go 2-0 down. The view, though, not spectacular. You can only see half the pitch. Probably a good thing as well for most Chelsea fans. Imagine this in other grounds, though. Imagine this at Old Trafford, tucking into a 1-star hygiene rating chicken Kiev when room service comes in. There was an incredible and wholesome link-up involving Eden Hazard this week, as he was pictured reunited with the ball boy that he kicked at Swansea in 2013. Obviously, for those that somehow don't know, when Eden Hazard first joined the Premier League, there was a lot of excitement. A young star boy wonder kid who'd impressed in France and was doing so well in that debut season until he absolutely yammed a young child. Well, that child is now one of the owners of a company called AU Vodka, and they linked up to laugh about it over 10 years later. They were pictured playing chess, but I don't think Eden's going to take it too well when this kid takes the bishop over to the corner flag. At Brentford, and Ivan Toney is finally back, and he scored in his side's 3-2 win versus Nottingham Forest. I don't know why his return is being presented as some kind of dramatic tale fighting against the odds. Well, I mean, he was fighting against a type of odds. Honestly, I just can't wait to return for our 3-2 win this weekend. Wait, hang on. How do you know the result already? He scored and celebrated by pointing to himself, actioning for bigger clubs to try and sign him, because this guy does not want to be at Brentford whatsoever. He was very clever, actually, with the free kick here. I mean, I guess you could argue it's clever, maybe cheating, by moving the ball slightly to the right-hand side. But either way, he's been banned from football, returned, betted on himself again, all before Anthony scores this season. At Manchester United, and their new CEO is Omar Barada, who's left their rivals Manchester City to take on the role. He saw the 115 charges and dipped immediately.
Fuck this, I'm out of here. Get that fire exit door.
Either that, or he might be a secret agent, as this old tweet from 2012 seems to indicate that he's not a big fan of Manchester United at all. He's a secret agent hired to keep Erik ten Hag in the job. He'll be seen stealing money from the wages pool 3 weeks into the job, or just making an outlandish bid for Calvin Phillips. Will be looking very different after 12 months sat on a bench straight. And speaking of Calvin Phillips, it looks like he's on the way to West Ham United. Not that his new teammate Mikel Antonio knew about it beforehand.
Calvin Phillips looking like he's joining West Ham?
Well, that's the first I'm hearing that.
His record at Man City is a trophy every 182 minutes and 911 in total. That 911 stands for call the emergency services, mate. This is disgusting. At Arsenal, and they battered Crystal Palace 5-0 this weekend, these lot were eating good. Gabriel provided another bullet header from a corner, and it's Gabriel! Meanwhile, honestly, for Palace, they are a crystal block of flats at best, really. This is the most illegal beating at a Palace since Prince Andrew. Roy Hodgson cannot have too long left. Not like that, sorry, I just realised. I don't mean like... Phil Foden's mum was thrown out of a club this week after getting into an altercation. How does Phil Foden's mum always end up in these situations? Hopefully she's alright, but she wasn't best pleased with the bouncer when he told her she had to get out of the club.
I don't know why he's being cheeky. Why is he being cheeky?
Tottenham Hotspur might be on the verge of a collaboration with the Nike Jordan brand. A Jordan-Tottenham partnership. Imagine the Ryan Sessegnon 910s. Over at Craven Cottage, and I'm sure there's absolutely normal activity going on over there. Right, well, what's happened here then? Yeah, decorations at Craven Cottage may need a rethink. Alex Iwobi's in the process of making a diss track as we speak. Meanwhile, their supporters will be left mystified if Calvin Bassey returns home early from Afcon.
What are you doing here?
And not in a racist way.
Manchester City centre-back Ruben Diaz used to date Arabella, who was on Love Island. Well, she's gone back on the show. Hi, Ruben, bro, you didn't tell me you were going on Love Island with your girl.
Oh, unless you're not, like, is she not your girlfriend anymore? Maybe she's getting pammed, not by you.
Poor Ruben, man, he'll be in two minds when Man City score, but his ex is getting piped on national television. There was chaos at the end of Sheffield United versus West Ham, by the way. The end result was a draw, but it doesn't tell the full story, as Ryan Brewster received a straight red in injury time, followed shortly after by a double yellow card for Soufal, then a 103rd-minute penalty for Sheffield United, and Anel Amadodzic getting away with WWE in the area. He actually posted this picture with Randy Orton's RKO music. Yeah, it's a Algeria award for the Bosnian. Elsewhere on the overlap, and Frank Lampard knows about the Frank Lampard memes.
I'm trying to stop it now. Trying to stop it.
Current Chelsea star Cole Palmer isn't quite as cold when it comes to dealing with monkeys. Meanwhile, one Manchester United news outlet in pidgin English was reporting on Erik ten Hag's quote. I don't think this is what Erik ten Hag actually said though, lads. I'm going to be 1,000,000% honest with you. He was feeling especially Oluwari after watching Afcon for the first time.
Oh, man. Bond the bacon, man.
One page over on Instagram was asking Premier League footballers for a little piece of advice they'd give to young footballers trying to make it. Reece James's was to play every game like it's your last. Well, for him, it usually is. Meanwhile, unfortunately, Joey Barton was active on Twitter again, talking about how British towns were better when they were just white people or something. I kind of zone out when I see his name on Twitter. To which Blackburn got involved and asked him to have a meltdown online without getting them involved. It's a shithousery award for the Rovers admin. To which Joey Barton was not having it, replying saying the Blackburn admin must be a pronoun demander. Fuck's sake, man. Who's actually listening to this man? What pronoun? What, is he an advocate of nouns? I've never seen a racist that can spell, you know. Make of that what you will. At youth European level now, and Ajax's under-18s enjoyed a marginal victory over Liverpool. Yep, future's bright, lads. Whoa. And at Forest Green, Troy Deeney has been sacked after just 6 games in charge at the club, after publicly throwing several of his players under the bus. He could be seen running into the dressing room to scrap his wing-back for not having above 97% pass accuracy. Now, Real Madrid secured a last-minute comeback 3-2 versus Almeria. It was a 99th minute goal from Dani Carvajal here, but there was controversy. As for Real Madrid's equaliser, and Almeria defenders were claiming a handball here after it appeared like the Brazilian threw a shoulder to the ball. Not really sure though whether it hit him below the sleeve or above. That hasn't stopped the internet's agenda though.
Or was it a use of the hand?
He responded by saying that's how he scored goals over on Copacabana Beach. I gotta say though, eyebrows will have been raised at La Liga's VAR screens here. We want a super VAR. Carlo Ancelotti was still delighted when the winning goal went in. Controversy isn't gonna stop him celebrating.
I am a record man.
And it wasn't gonna stop the VAR room celebrating Real Madrid winning the game either. Barcelona offered the refs some extra cash too, only to realise the Spanish FA were going to ask for more than 33 euros to be bribed. Meanwhile, down on the bench, and Arda Güler was left frustrated after not being substituted onto the pitch during this one. But it wasn't all good news though for Real Madrid, as they crashed out of the Copa del Rey at the hands of their city rivals Atletico. This one was absolute chaos, a game that went to extra time after being 2-2 inside the full 90, and there were yellow cards galore here. I'm pretty sure a physio was in the referee's notebook. At least Vini Jr was able to predict the scoreline pretty accurately from last week. Meanwhile, Alvaro Morata was delighted to score a winning goal. I think he had more trouble and strife dealing with a big flag than he did with Real Madrid's defence. Barcelona are also out of the Copa del Rey, having been beaten by Athletic Club, and after they were so excited to get things underway, that hope was dashed pretty early on. Lamine Yamal though scored a beautiful goal in this one at just the age of 16. Man, I think I was still collecting match attacks when I was 16. Xavi would be out of a job, by the way, if it wasn't for Dons picking their GCSEs right now. But he is out of the Copa del Rey, in part thanks to the Williams brothers. Iñaki only just got back from representing and losing with Ghana. Meanwhile, for Pedri, and he was looking like a seasoned war veteran down on the bench. Meanwhile, elsewhere at Barca, and Ferran Torres compared scoring goals to, quote, fucking in the ass. You have to be very well oiled.
It's a bit of a weird analogy.
Over in Germany, and Bayern Munich's title chances took a hit as they lost 1-0 to Werder Bremen. The Eric Dyer effect.
You guys never win anything, right? No.
Yeah. And just in case they weren't happy enough with 2 Englishmen, they're trying to sign Kieran Trippier from Newcastle. Oh man, Trippier, Kane and Dyer already on their way to Bayern, to Tottenhamified them. Meanwhile, Xabi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen are walking off into the distance. As for Eric Dyer, by the way, and he's got a slightly different accent now that he's headed over to the Bundesliga.
Yeah, a very proud moment for me, obviously, to
make my debut for this club.
Bayern did at least manage to get a win on the board versus Union Berlin, 1-0 again the scoreline. But this game won't be remembered for that. Instead, it'll be remembered for Union's manager, Nenad Bielica, punching Leroy Sane down on the touchline. But listen, you don't want to mess with Leroy now. He's trained after the fight with Sadio Mane, mate. You're losing here. Harry Kane was at least pleased after putting a 5 on a Sane third-round knockout. Let's go! Over in France, Nuno Tavares could be about to sign for Marseille. It's not the only thing he's been in the news for, though, this week.
Whoever's involved in this, stop it.
RSPCA, this is outrageous behaviour. What the heck is going on here? Arsenal's physio is going to have been mystified seeing him start lips in win. Honestly, Doc, thank you so much for the treatment again. Like, I can't underestimate how much it's helped me. Nuno, I'm going to need you to stop coming into this vet. Meanwhile, elsewhere in France, and the country's first lady wanted Didier Deschamps to call up Junior Ito of Rhyme. Problem is, he's Japanese, so he can't really do... He's a Japanese star, though, so I think with that, let's take our Asian Cup break. A new intro. Fucking hell, how many of these have I got to do? Now, I want you to throw back to Qatar 2022, alright? Japan win a group that has Spain and Germany in. Fast forward, though, to the Asian Cup, and they're finishing behind Iraq. Are we the farmers? There was last-minute drama, though, here for Iraq, as they won their final group stage match with a 99th minute penalty against Vietnam. Devastation for them. In the stands, and hey, yo, I might need to watch the Asian Cup a bit more often. Back on the pitch, and for Tajikistan, they grabbed themselves their first Asian Cup win. History for them, though it almost wasn't the case versus Lebanon after this VAR decision that is harsh to say the least. If this guy was a size 7, he's onside. There was beautiful scenes, though, for Palestine, who were through to the knockouts of the Asian Cup for the first time after a massive 3-0 win over Hong Kong. Delightful stuff for them, honestly. I wish them the best of luck throughout the rest of the tournament. Uzbekistan also made some history by beating India 3-0. 1.4 billion people in this country and no goals all tournament. And Syria managed to beat India in this tournament as well, which means they're through to the last 16 for the first time too. Their translator was getting extremely emotional after the game. Can't lie, the translated version of this interview, it's not the most telling. Jordan's coach wasn't letting a defeat to South Korea stand in his way, as he got a selfie after the match with Heung-min Son following a late own goal. But later on in the tournament, and for South Korea, there was more dramatic scenes as they drew 3-3 with Malaysia thanks to a last-minute goal. These international tournaments are going crazy. Over in Italy, and there was controversial stuff at AC Milan versus Udinese, as Mike Maignan walked off the pitch following on from racial abuse aimed towards him from Udinese supporters. The rest of his team walked off in solidarity. The game was restarted later on, and Milan grabbed themselves a last-minute winner. I'm glad the rest of the team stood in solidarity, as I said, and then also went on to win. We love to see that. Meanwhile, Andrea Belotti for Roma was absolutely obliterated. Now that it's time for your goals of the week, we've got some stunners again for you this time. First of all, in Paraguay and at Guarini, one of the most accurate halfway strikes I think I've ever seen. The pace and power on this strike going over the goalkeeper. Returned back to the Asian Cup, though, for the second goal of the week, as Qatar scored this disgraceful volley directly from a corner.
Instead goes towards the other substitute. That is magnificent.
And finally, on the topic of quick thinking, we head over to Honduras as a guy called Small, well, he's got a big brain. Well, I pause. Playing for Real España, this pitch is absolutely waterlogged. You're never going to get anything to run across the floor. So what do? Scoop the ball up in the air and absolutely smack it into the top corner. Hello all, and welcome to The Beautiful Game, the segment where we take a look at the poetic and brilliant side of the game that we love. We are back by popular demand for yet more glorious beauty. And that concludes The Beautiful Game. Now, over in America, and Lionel Messi's Inter Miami are embarking on their preseason campaign before the MLS gets underway. And he was showing off to the max, almost scoring an Olympico directly from a corner. As a goalkeeper, you don't need to be doing all of this in a preseason friendly. Lionel Messi's not taking this league or this team seriously. You can't tell me otherwise. He's turning into F2 freestylers for preseason games, only to realise the strikers that he's actually got at his disposal when the ball goes into the area.
Oh, you fucking...
Now, another man that's being heralded as a hero at his new club is Jordan Henderson, who of course has left Al Ettifaq to join Eredivisie giants Ajax, and their fans are, it's fair to say, delighted. He's broken records in terms of shirt sales, there's graffiti appearing all over the city of Amsterdam, and they're even selling bed sheets on the official Ajax website. And it's no surprise why, after seeing his Saudi Arabian highlights.
Junior, aka Joseph Adenuga, left school.
Over in Turkey, it's been a mad enough year already, really, for them. Well, things got even more ridiculous in a second division game as Sakaryaspor's Murat Akpinar received received a second yellow card for offering a fake handshake to a referee. Over in Portugal and at Sporting Lisbon, you know the quote, if in doubt,
Forte o central do Uruguaio. E depois Gaio.
knock him out, as in a fan in the crowd with the football. No, Pedro. We see some of the most outrageous footballing ability maybe ever seen in FTW here at this wedding. In Brazil, and Ronaldinho's gone from footballer to model, appearing on this Brazilian catwalk, wearing himself. He couldn't wait to put this shirt on, seeing himself printed on it in the shops. In Colombia, and the juniors at Junior FC are getting a little bit rowdy. Meanwhile, elsewhere...
Fucking hell, man.
Look, right, okay, I've got a lot of questions. First of all, goalkeeper. Why did you just decide to sack it off after the first bit of play? Second of all, pitch inspection. Come on, lads, we've got to sort this out. Now, speaking of adverse weather conditions, closer to home, and Storm Aisha has been absolutely battering the country. First of all, in this Aston Villa women's match, where there's genuine concentration having to be made to keep the ball by the corner flag. And then down at Leighton, once you've done all that work to keep it by the corner flag, you then take the set piece, and, well, it becomes an outswinger, whether you wanted it to be or not. At Gillingham's youth team now, and their skipper is... the skipper. Meanwhile, at Peterborough's women's side, and Kirk here has scored her 5th goal of the game in a 12-0 win. I don't know about you lot, right, but I have seen this woman on my timeline every single week for the last 3 months. Some big team has got to sign her, or they've just got to get this team out of the division. Absolutely no reason why I remember her face whatsoever. Keep it moving. In Peru now, we've got one of the most unnecessarily sad own goals you've ever seen in your life, with a defender looping the ball casually over his own goalkeeper. Someone checked the betting slip. At least a good connection was made with the ball there. The same can't be said for this Don in Mexico at Atlas. At Botafogo PB, and this goalkeeper will not want to look back on this goal. Thankfully for him, despite his failure to control it, his side did win 5-1. Staying in Brazil, and Vasco da Gama had the unusual task of playing 2 games at the same time, or 2 games on the same day. They won both of them and even won a trophy from one of these victories. Insane stuff there. Elsewhere in South America and Uruguay,
I'm rapidly falling out of love with football.
why can't goalkeepers just keep it simple, man? That's all, just clear the ball away. And in Scotland, that Premier League side Kilmarnock, they had a unique way to announce a new signing in on loan from Liverpool by dipping into the FIFA career mode archives. Now there is time for Still 0-0. You guys know the score by now. This is a segment of the show where I bring to you the best of Sunday League and amateur football. And look, listen, you know, we all know the score. Sunday League is not exactly the place where you find Brazilian five-a-side flair. Except for one man. One man who dares to break boundaries and is brave enough to do the unthinkable.
Give it him. Time.
Yes, Newman.
See, that's all well and good doing that, but we all know what's going to happen next. On to the weird stuff, though, now. Over in the Netherlands, and there's the story of NEC Nijmegen. I don't know how to pronounce the second part of their name. I'm just going to call them NEC, who have taken the unusual approach of locking off their own stadium's bar. They have genuinely held a boycott of their bar, right? No alcohol's getting drunk there, because there's been a sudden spike in prices there, with one beer costing €6.80. I would do the same. You can't be paying that in a stadium. Ivan Perisic left Tottenham this window on loan to return back to his boyhood club Hajduk Split in Croatia, and at the end of this loan spell he will permanently join the club. But upon joining the club permanently, he's only going to receive €1 per month. Yep, that's right. His weekly wage is going to be 25 cents, and that's obviously because he doesn't want to drain money from his boyhood club. He's earned enough money in his career so far to be able to basically play for free. And finally, there was a ridiculous situation at Angkor City in Cambodia's second division. Yeah, I know. Look, listen, we've drawn for the weirder leagues here with this one, but hear me out. Angkor City have been struggling, not necessarily just through results, but also through keeping players actually well and healthy. A pretty nasty virus has ravaged through their team and their coaching staff to the point where only 10 players were actually available to play their next league game, as well as all of their coaches, apart from their manager, also falling ill. They wanted to get the game postponed because they didn't have enough players, but it was too late to get the game called off and rearranged, so it had to go ahead. Unsurprisingly, Frustratingly, with no recognised goalkeeper and a man down for the entirety of the game, they ended up losing 14-0. Something tells me their next training session will just be several packets of paracetamol. That, though, is going to wrap up football this week, and I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, then feel free to slap a like on the video, and of course, subscribe if you're new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is @TheOfficialFNG on Twitter and on Insta. But it's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.